Hey everybody, I'm Dan Hodgman with Topstep, and today I'm sitting down with Jeff from Massachusetts. Jeff made it through the whole program. He is a funded trader at this point. Jeff, how are things going?
Good. Excellent.
Well,
Thanks.
you've taken your time getting through this, the combine here, getting through the funded accounts. I want to know how things are going for you and how your trading's been up to this point.
It's been very challenging, but when you put time and effort more than anything, well, in my case, that was the case, um, you're gonna see results.
Absolutely. How long have you been trading for?
Basically, 2 years. I mean, I started from scratch. I didn't know anything about any kind of markets until I'm lucky because I started knowing futures very early on. I think a lot of people don't know about the futures market, even when they are very experienced in forex and stocks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very grateful that I found futures. I like futures a lot. It's very straightforward.
Absolutely. Is futures then the first thing you traded?
Yeah, I mean,
So you
maybe
dove
that's
right in.
exact. That might be weird for a lot other traders that trade other markets, but yeah, I started with futures, and yeah, I don't obviously it's not my place to say, but I don't understand how people can know about the futures market and then go and trade other things. To be honest,
The futures are such a fun market. It provides a lot of opportunity that some of the other markets or products won't allow. So, what are some of the products that you're actually looking at then with futures?
when you start trading futures, or when you start learning about trading, you tend to see basically everything, and that's a mistake. I mean, that's obviously not the way to go at least at the beginning, but that was my experience. I started looking at everything, and I wanted to learn about everything. But eventually, obviously, you're gonna get your teeth kicked in by the markets if you're not careful. Um, but I ended up looking at S&P 500, crude oil, and gold.
Okay.
But lately, I've been trading Nasdaq, and that's something I've never actually saw coming because Nasdaq at the beginning, first of all, I didn't start trading Nasdaq because the tick was $5. Obviously, I didn't know anything. I just said, $5. I rather trade 12.50 tick or $10 tick. But then I placed an order in Nasdaq, and I was like, whoa, what is this? Nasdaq for me is a wild horse, to be honest.
It is. Well, when you look at your trading, you do things different than a lot of people. You're very selective in your trade choice. You're not taking 10 or 15 trades in a day. You're taking anywhere from one or two trades in a day. So I think, that's something you have to think about when you're choosing which product to trade. Which one's going to provide that opportunity that's going to allow you to be selective?
Because I'm looking at the long term, and I don't want to be the kind of trader that sits hours in front of a screen looking for a lot of trades. Because I'm not the type of scalp trader. I
Mm-hmm.
don't see myself doing that. I just rather see the trade that I'm gonna take for the day, and that's it. Whatever happens, happens.
I like
But
that.
with
What
that trade,
I like that. So when you say you're a little bit longer term, what kind of charts are you looking at? What time frame charts do you look at?
so I started looking at the very beginning. I started looking at the 3 minute chart. I'm never doing that again unless I look like a bigger time frame, and then I start going through the uh, smaller time frames. But I usually start from the huge time frame daily, and then out 4 hour, and then 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 15. But that's the thing. Since I don't take a lot of trades, I take my time to look at everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'm ready, I take the shot at a smaller time frame. But that's after I looked at the higher time frame first,
I think
to be
that's a
more
great
precise.
idea. I do the same exact thing. You got to start that higher time frame. It allows you to get that bigger picture, understand what the long-term stuff's going on, and then you can kind of get a little bit smaller to help figure out where that best entry point is.
Exactly, and where to put your stop loss, more importantly.
That's the most important thing. You got to know where you're going to put that stop. So when you are going through your charts here, what are some of the things that you're looking at to help determine what trade you're going to take?
Well, in S&P 500 and Nasdaq, I tend to see, because this is the difference between indices. Everybody expect the indices to go up. That's the uptrend, every investor, the stock market. So that's the difference between that, the indices, and crude oil, for example. Crude oil is it's not necessarily have to go up. It's what it is. It's the
Mm-hmm.
price of the crude oil. So, but the indices have the for a trader have you have the advantage to kind of predict the uptrend, and you can kind of speculate when the price is gonna make a correction, and you can profit off of that if you make the right choice at the right time. Because that's what happens to me in the pro account, and I think in step two, once the market make that correction, I shorted that market like because I kept my eye on it, and I started to look up for opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
and then the opportunity came, and just with one contract, I think I passed step two with one contract. Um, and the pro account, I made 3K with one Nasdaq contract, and that's the thing. You have to wait for it. If you have the patience to wait for the opportunity, it will come. Don't try to force the opportunity. It's gonna come eventually. And with one trade, you can make I see other traders happy, and I'm not judging them. I admire them actually because they're consistent every day with making what 200, 300, 500. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
But in my case, I compensate that with just trying to find day trade that will get me more, and I don't have to like trade the next day necessarily.
I like that. I think that's the right mentality. Trading is such an industry where we don't get to choose when it's going to present that opportunity. We don't get to choose when we're going to trade. We've got to wait for that market to tell us. And maybe not every day is it going to pay us.
Exactly.
Are you looking at any specific indicators or strictly just technicals and fundamentals with what those charts are telling you?
When I started learning about futures, I used to spend so many hours in front of the screen, like from day to night, because I was so excited about learning about this because I didn't know it even existed. And secondly, I saw myself doing this. So I spent a lot of time looking at the screens. You know how they say that when you stare at the ocean for too long, the ocean stares at you back? Well,
Yeah,
when you stare at these charts for too long, you start seeing things. Honestly, that with the study of price action and your technical analysis, um, you kind of know. But honestly, I don't rely on that. I put the work on technical analysis and everything.
mm-hmm.
But it's good to have an insight and a gut feeling. Obviously, if you don't risk too much, you have to maintain that control. I'm gonna be very honest, and this is gonna sound very, very weird, but I um I found out a strategy that I've never seen anyone actually use before.
Okay.
It was like literally just God told me, this is the way you're gonna trade now, and it's very interesting because I found out about that on my own. And when you find a strategy on your own, it can be very intimidating. Yeah, I think that that's the strategy that helped me. If you see my history, you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
see disastrous performance, but then you're gonna see, those huge gains, and that's basically that strategy.
That's
And
awesome.
I'm gonna keep doing that.
So you've been with Topstep now for about 2 years. How has your trading changed then from the beginning to where you're at now? Is it the matter of finding that strategy?
Yes, I can say that that's the major, you know, benefit that I've had. But there's another elements to it, because at the beginning, at the beginning you don't know what you're doing, to be honest. You just want
Hmm.
to be there and get lucky, and you think you know what you're doing, but you really don't know anything. I always said to my mom, trading is either very hard or very easy. It's either one of those. But when it is easy when you know what you're doing and when you're consistent. And I can see myself being consistent now. I didn't see that before, you know. And
Consistency is
that's,
key.
yeah. I'm gonna say why. It's because when you take bigger uh, trades, even if you lose money one day and the second day, the other day is gonna make up for all those losses. And that's how you are consistent. In my case, that's how I'm planning to be consistent, because there were 3 days that I lost like three trades, but the trades were around 200. And then I made another trade that was like 1,000. So I made all those losses and gain a little bit more. So that's consistency for me.
And that's what we want to look for. We want to look for those opportunities where we can keep our risk tight and we can be wrong a few times and still be profitable in the long run. And that's what trading's all about. It's not about trying to get as many wins as possible, but making sure that the trades that we're taking, we're managing our risk, we're keeping our stops relatively tight, and we're looking for those bigger opportunities. I think that is one of the best things that we can do with trading. All right, I have
Exactly.
just a couple more questions for you. You've worked really hard to get through this program. You're a funded trader. We're making money now. There's a lot of traders working their way through. What's something or what's a piece of advice you would give those traders that are working their way through right now?
I don't usually tend to say don't give up, just keep at it. Obviously, that's part of it. That's a big part of it, of trading, and be profitable. But you have to know what you're doing. You really do have to know what you're doing, because when you know what you're gonna do before the market opens, you are you're not gonna, even if you lose that day, on the long run, as long as you have a plan, you know what you're doing, that's gonna pay off eventually. But don't
Absolutely.
go in the markets hoping to, hoping, just hoping, basically, without anything else, just hoping. Don't do that. But be sure to learn a strategy, keep at it, and if that strategy doesn't work, learn something new or try to adjust some of the settings you're implementing. But you have to know what you're doing, because my story, most of the my trading experience have been bad, even because there's a lot of elements to it. But I didn't. Basically, it all comes down to I didn't have a structure, a plan. But once you do, you're confident
Yep.
on the long run.
Something you said there that I want to make sure everyone listens to when you made the point of saying if your strategy is not working, you didn't say jump to a new strategy, try something completely different. You said adjust. Making those small little adjustments are really what's going to teach you and you're going to learn from. It's not about jumping from one ship to the next, but making those small little changes, those small little tweaks that really are going to start to set you apart and bring around that consistency which you've talked about so much, which I think is awesome.
Exactly. And sometimes it's basically where you put where you enter and when you put your stop loss, because your strategy might be great, but you're placing the stop loss way too close or way too far. There's
Mhm.
details that you have to work through. I always heard people say that usually takes people 2 years to be profitable. At the beginning, I was like, no way, I'm gonna do this way earlier. 2 years, me, example. There,
I love it. All right, I love it. One last question for you. How's your experience with Topstep been so far?
I'm very grateful for Topstep, to be honest. I didn't even know. Well, I learned about futures and everything pretty close to when I learned about Topstep, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, "What? You're telling me But all I need to do is learn how to trade, and you have this company that will give you money to trade their money. I was like, this is it. I was like Michael Jackson. This is it. And yeah, I think Topstep was an inspiration for me to first learn how to trade, second how to discipline myself. Because honestly, trading changes you. Honestly, to be honest, trading is gonna get to know you better. You're gonna develop patience, focus. You know, you're gonna get through a lot while learning how to trade. And Top Step provides that opportunity. Oh, another thing that I'm grateful for Top Step is the daily uh, loss limit, because at the beginning I didn't see it as something good, but eventually I was like, no, that's good, because there's no limit of how much you can make, but there's a limit of how much you can lose, and that's perfect. You just try, just that's another reason why I look at the bigger trades, you know,
Yeah,
because don't look at how much you can lose or how much you can risk. Just look at how much you can gain. It's infinite, and Top Step is allowing you to do that. And he basically, they're trying to help you not lose everything in one day. You know, there's tomorrow, and
exactly. We say it
there's
all the
something.
time.
Yeah, I something new traders need to understand though is that even if you miss a huge opportunity one day, every day provides opportunities. Every day, even the next week might provide the next or better opportunity. So just be patient. You don't have to, you know, give it all in one day. And if you lose, cry about it.
Awesome. I love that, and I appreciate it, Jeff. And I just want to say thank you for sitting down with us here today. We all wish you luck as you continue moving through this funded account here, and looking forward to seeing those withdrawals come through. Thank you.
Thank you.